I'm Jerry Sheridan, and I want to be your next Sheriff of Maricopa County. You know, I grew up in a law enforcement family. My dad and uncles were New York City cops. I've been around law enforcement all my life. I joined the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office at the ripe old age of 18, and I left 40 years later. So when people start to talk about police reform, start to talk about defunding the police and issues like that, you know I've got to have an opinion. The word reform, to me, is very offensive. We need to find another word, because every law enforcement officer I've known throughout my life, and there's been hundreds, if not thousands of them, none of us start out wanting to hurt someone every day we go to work. Things do happen over the years. A law enforcement officer sees more in life in 1 week than most people see in their lifetime. And after a while, it does take a toll. We need to be aware of that. We need to provide training to these people. I have some ideas. Here's what I started to do when I took over as the Chief Deputy of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office back in 2011. I brought in a training program called Blue Courage. Blue Courage is ethics training. It wasn't called ethics, because if you bring a bunch of cops in, a bunch of deputies in, especially seasoned ones, and you say, we're going to train you about ethics and bias training, it's going to shut them down. I know. I taught at the community college for 20 years. I know about adult education. I had a training certificate from Aliawac before it was Post for almost 35 years. I know how to teach law enforcement officers. But Michael Neela came in with this program. It was awesome. It taught them about the nobility of policing. It taught them about how to respect people of other races. It taught them about how to respect people of different genders, of transgenders, without insulting their intelligence. There was a second component to that. It was called transformational leadership. It was for management. We brought in a guy, Colonel Bill Steele. We made multiple attempts to train people, but due to things that were out of my control, things happened. We weren't able to continue on with the course of training that I wanted to as the Chief Deputy. I will bring that back. That's what I consider to be the valuable training that law enforcement needs. And I'm going to add a fourth component to that. And you know what? If Paul Penzone sees this video and steals some of this stuff before I get there, I hope he does, because it's sorely needed. The leadership training, the issues that I'm talking about are very sorely needed. There's a lack of leadership in the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office you won't believe. That's what I bring to the table, by the way, is leadership. But the fourth component is something that I believe is an issue with law enforcement officers that have tenure, people that have been there for a while. Seeing those things, and I go back to what I've seen over the years, the dead babies, the children burned up in car accidents, the murder victims, the people in boating accidents sliced up by a propeller. I'll never forget all those Boy Scouts dead that were drowned years ago, laid out in one of our substations under blankets, 8 of them. You don't forget those things. And to some people, it takes a psychological toll on them. And some of them are likely to maybe do things that they normally wouldn't have done in a stressful situation. Maybe abuse somebody, maybe use excessive force. It's very rare, but it does occur. So the other element that I want to bring in is something that I'll call stress management. I went to the Rocky Mountain Leadership Institute in Colorado years ago, and we spent an entire day on how to learn to deal with our stress. And I'm going to bring that to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office for every employee. I still use those techniques today, and I went to that school about 15 years ago. Everybody needs to learn how to relax and deal with their stress issues. That's what a leader does. That's what I'm going to do as your sheriff. Make those employees, bring them back to the community so they understand the cultural issues and be able to deal with the stressors. It's that simple. This isn't rocket science. It's about treating people like human beings. Not only the employees that work there, but the people we deal with, whether they're criminals or whether they're grandma that we're stopping because she just ran through a stop sign. It's all the same. We're all human beings. We all have pride. We all have dignity. And our founding fathers knew that when they wrote the Constitution, didn't they? That's what this is all about. As a constitutional conservative, I want to bring those values in to the everyday workings of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office and how all the employees apply that to the people they deal with each and every day. I'm Jerry Sheridan, and I want to be your next sheriff.